A ceiling fan does not cool your house. If you put a thermometer in a sealed room and switched on the fan, the temperature will not drop a single fraction of a degree. In fact, if you leave it running long enough, the reading may actually get hotter, thanks to the waste heat created by the fan motor. This is the fundamental misunderstanding many people have with ceiling fans, and one of the reasons why 60% of homeowners right now are using them incorrectly. But when used right, they can be extremely powerful tools, proven to cut summer cooling bills by as much as 40% and make you feel up to 8 degrees cooler without changing the temperature of the air by even 1 degree. But if the fan is not chilling the room, where does that saving actually come from? And what is the simple mistake that more than half of homeowners are making that is killing the benefits of using them? Let's find out. Alright, before I share the big mistakes of operating ceiling fans, we need to understand exactly what these things actually do. Because how a ceiling fan works has almost nothing to do with the temperature in the room and almost everything to do with the people inside it. You see, the human body is constantly shedding heat, and on a hot day, its main tool for doing that is the evaporation of sweat. But evaporation needs somewhere for the moisture to go. When you sit in an environment without airflow, your own body heat warms a thin film of air pressed against your skin, and that film slowly fills with the humidity rising off you. This is known as the thermal boundary layer, a stagnant, invisible blanket of warm, moist air that clings to you and refuses to move. And as long as it sits there undisturbed, fresh, dry air never reaches your skin. Evaporation stalls, and you feel hot and sticky even when the room itself is a perfectly reasonable temperature. Disturbing that blanket is the entire purpose of a ceiling fan. When the angled blades turn, they pull air down from the ceiling and drive it toward the floor in a broad column. That column strikes the floor, spreads outward, and rolls back up the walls, setting the whole room into a slow, looping current. As that moving air washes across you, it strips the warm, humid film off your skin and replaces it with drier air drawn from the rest of the room. Evaporation, which had stalled, suddenly accelerates, and every drop of sweat that turns to vapor pulls heat directly out of your body. This is the wind chill effect, and the Department of Energy estimates that, without a single change in the air temperature, the sensation is worth about 4 degrees Fahrenheit of perceived cooling, with some comfort studies putting it closer to 8 in the right conditions. And it's this perceived cooling effect that can eliminate or heavily reduce the demand on energy-intensive mechanical cooling. A standard 3-ton central air conditioner draws somewhere between 3,000 and 3,500 watts while it runs. And through the peak of an American summer, running it hard can cost a household hundreds of dollars a month. Every degree cooler you ask it to hold means more compressor time, more electricity, and more money. And that's not including the initial cost of the machine itself, which arrives with heavy outdoor hardware, a web of interior ductwork, and an installation bill that often runs from $5,000 to $10,000. A ceiling fan, on the other hand, is a very different story. A conventional one draws between 50 and 70 watts on its highest setting, less than a single old incandescent bulb, while moving 4,000 to 6,000 cubic feet of air a minute. It needs no ductwork, hangs from the electrical box already in the center of your ceiling, and can be bought and installed for a couple $100s. Now, there's an important caveat to this that many homeowners forget. The saving potential of a ceiling fan lives entirely in your willingness to raise the thermostat and let the breeze cover the difference. According to the Florida Solar Energy Center, every degree you push the thermostat up in summer trims, somewhere on the order of 10 to 12% off your annual cooling energy. But that same study found the opposite was also true. Homes that ran a fan but never touched the thermostat did not save anything at all, and their cooling energy use actually rose by as much as 15%, because they simply added the fan's draw and its waste heat on top of an air conditioner doing exactly the same work as before. Another costly, yet extremely common, mistake people make is that they leave their ceiling fans spinning in an empty room. With no skin for the wind chill to act on, it delivers zero cooling and 100% of the cost. This is a huge problem. Fans left running in empty rooms waste an estimated $2.1 billion in American electricity every year. This is not a porch light you leave on to look lived in. When you walk out of the room, it should switch off with you. All right, so before we establish how to make the most out of your ceiling fan, there's an important condition to be aware of. Because with ceiling fans, the entire trick depends on your local climate having enough dry air to evaporate your sweat. But when a room climbs toward 95 degrees Fahrenheit at 90% humidity, the surrounding air is already so saturated that it cannot absorb another drop of moisture from your skin. At that point, the breeze stops cooling you and is merely pushing hot air around. So the fan is a comfort multiplier, not a refrigerator. And on the very worst days of summer, it needs the air conditioner working beside it. It's also worth quickly understanding the difference between modern fans and the older versions. For most of the last century, the fan doing all of this was a fairly crude machine. In 1882, a prolific German-American engineer named Philipp Diehl was working intensely on electric motors. He had just successfully designed the very first electric motor for the Singer sewing machine, liberating textile workers from the exhaustion of a manual foot pedal. But Diehl realized that his compact, powerful, alternating current motor had potential far beyond stitching fabric. He took one of his sewing machine motors, mounted it directly to the ceiling, and attached 2 flat wooden blades to the rotating shaft. In that moment, the first electric ceiling fan was born. For the next century, the overwhelming majority of ceiling fans sold ran on an alternating current induction motor. While these were durable and cheap, they often give off a low, 60 Hz hum that becomes maddening in a quiet bedroom at night. They also usually offer only 3 course speeds, so people tend to run them higher than they need and pay for airflow they are not using. But the modern versions fix nearly all of that. The important change is the move to a brushless, direct current motor, usually labeled DC or BLDC on the box. A small built-in converter turns the home's alternating current into direct current and drives the blades with permanent magnets and no rubbing brushes. So the friction that used to bleed away as heat is largely gone. The result is a motor that runs cool and very nearly silent while requiring 75% less power to run. We are also seeing the aggressive integration of smart, passive environmental controls. Modern smart fans are equipped with onboard temperature and humidity sensors. They can seamlessly connect to your home Wi-Fi network and communicate directly with your smart thermostat. As the afternoon sun heats up your living room, the fan automatically detects the rising temperature and speeds up to maintain your perceived comfort level, delaying the moment your heavy, expensive air conditioner needs to turn on. The blades of these machines have evolved drastically. Instead of flat, heavy wood, high-end manufacturers are utilizing injection-molded plastics and carved balsa wood to create true aerodynamic airfoils. Modeled directly after the wings of an airplane, these blades feature a thick, curved leading edge that tapers to a razor-thin trailing edge. This geometry creates a zone of low pressure above the blade and high pressure below it, allowing the fan to smoothly and silently pull the air downward without creating loud, turbulent wind shear. The best of these carry the Energy Star label and run up to 60% more efficiently than a conventional fan. They also offer as many as 10 fine speed steps instead of 3, and simply choosing a lower step rather than rounding up can cut the power draw by another 30 to 50%. A DC fan costs $40 to $80 more up front, but it tends to save around $50 a year in electricity, paying back the difference in roughly 12 to 18 months. Okay, now we know how they work, let's discuss how to make the most of your ceiling fan. The single biggest mistake most people make is that they run the fan in the wrong direction. Studies have found that over 60% of people never change the direction their fan spins with the seasons, and direction is the difference between a fan that helps and one that quietly works against you. In summer, the blades should turn counterclockwise when you look up at them, which drives that cooling column of air straight down onto you. If you stand beneath the fan and feel little or no breeze, it is spinning the wrong way, and there is a small switch on the motor housing to reverse it. But in winter, the opposite applies. Run it clockwise on its lowest speed, and instead of a draft, it gently pulls the cooler air from the ground and circulates warmer air that has collected at the ceiling through the room. Once the fan is turning the right way, the rest is simple discipline. Raise the thermostat about 4 degrees in summer, and you'll notice a considerable drop in your cooling bill. Drop your thermostat a degree in winter, and you see an equivalent saving in your heating bill. And of course, when you leave the room, turn it off, because a fan cooling no one in summer or heating no one in winter is only ever an expense. Ceiling fans are a piece of home cooling technology that has proven its worth for more than a century. and the physics behind them has not changed once in all that time. Provided you know how to use it properly, they can have a huge impact on both your comfort and energy bill. If you want to learn about more ways you can cool your home this summer, watch our guide to passive cooling here. And if these are the kinds of overlooked, low-cost systems you want more of, subscribe to the channel, because it is the simplest way to make sure tips like this keep finding you.